absolutely have to be in control of what's going on, or the whole thing is going to go sideways. You've been in enough meetings, IEP meetings, that you know what they do. They have a draft IEP, they have all the goals and objectives already written, they know exactly what they're going to do, and they just want you to rubber stamp it. It can't happen that way, or nothing that you need is going to get into the IEP. You wasted all that time getting all those independent education evaluations. All right? So the first thing that you're going to do is get everybody to come to a consensus that to go ahead and paraphrase out of all the evaluations that you've gotten done, whether it's just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, the present levels of academic performance and functioning. All right? The very next thing you're going to start talking about is what are going to be the goals and objectives. Okay? To determine what the goals and objectives are, goals and objectives. They will undoubtedly already have some existing goals and objectives. Do you have any with you?
Yeah, from the Missouri IEP.
All right, let's take a look at those, or one of them, just so we can use one as a reference.
Okay. Weston will answer when or, that's a simple one.
Here's a great objective.
Okay.
Okay. Objective. Weston will use pronouns. I, me, my, you, your, he, she, you, your, they in short sentences. The criteria is 80% and the frequency is 4 out of 5 sample days. The goals are not as critical as the objective is. The goal is going to be very broad and an umbrella. The objectives are what matter. Now, what we just discussed was an objective. They'll undoubtedly already have pre-written objectives. What you want to do is say, first, let's just round table it, and because you got and seat your experts next to each other, okay? That's another critical thing. That way, they form a cohesive group. So it should be you, your expert, or your experts. What you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, is this a good objective? All right? If you decide that it's a good objective, we'll use pronouns. You go ahead and you put it on your board. We'll use pronouns. And we're just going to shorten it for this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the what. For each objective, you need 4 things. You need the what. What is the objective? Okay? The next thing, if everybody's agreed that we'll use pronouns, a good time to discuss under what the objective is how will it be determined if he's succeeded at it or not. So, i.e., is it going to be based on, what did yours say? 80% accuracy, 4 out of 5 sample days. I don't even like that, because how do you determine 80% accuracy if he's using pronouns? You know, does that kind of make sense to you? I mean, is it just you listen to every sentence that he uses and is there a pronoun in it? So you got to make sure that it's clear, you got to make sure that it's measurable, okay? Once you determine that it's clear and it's measurable, under the objective, you're also going to include the criteria of how you're going to measure it, okay? How is it measured? And you're also going to include what are you going to use to track it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to create a data collection sheet? Who is going to do the data collection? And how often are they going to do the data collection? Because without data, you have no idea of knowing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2 weeks after they've implemented this IEP, you're going to go back and you're going to have a meeting with the IEP team. And you're going to go, okay, let's look at the first objective. We'll use pronouns. It's going to be easy to look at the data collection sheets, and hopefully somebody will have been taught how to put them into a spreadsheet so you can just look at a graph or a chart or something like that and determine really quickly if he's making progress, if he's flatlining, or if he's getting worse. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 important things under the objective is, what is the objective going to be? We'll use pronouns. How is it going to be measured? And how is it gonna be measured also falls under data collection. So when you're talking about how it's gonna be measured, you're gonna be talking about things like, do we just track every sentence that he says during a 10-minute period, or during a 15-minute period, or during a speech therapy session, or at recess, or during reading time, or do we track it all day? Do you understand what I'm saying? How it's gonna be measured is just as important as what the actual objective is. And then making sure that it's objectively measured is just as important as determining how it's gonna be measured. So you need to have the objective, how it's gonna be measured, and measure it objectively. Okay?
Typically, how many objectives are in an IEP? Typically.
You know, I'd like to see no more than, say, 4 to 6 goals with 2 to 3 objectives under each one. You don't need to overload an IEP, because if it's done right and you're following up every 2 weeks, and the people that are teaching your child are trained, he's going to be meeting objectives and meeting goals very often. In the first 5 months, my son met, I think, 3 objectives, which was tantamount to meeting like 8 or 10 objectives. And we scratched those out and created new, tougher ones. So you don't need to think, some of them may be for a year out, that you know it's going to take them a year. But something important is to don't mix objectives under a goal, okay? That one objective he can probably meet within 2 months, and another objective it's going to take him a whole year to meet, because then he's never going to meet that goal. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Try to look at attainable goals and obtainable objectives that you can meet, and then move forward from there. Even if we'll use pronouns, even if the objective stays the same. You make it tougher. Instead of an 80% criteria, you know, out of a sampling of every, say, 15-minute period during the day, you make it 100% criteria. And that's how you make it tougher. But you'll be going over this kind of thing every 2 weeks. So you're going to know if your child is making progress. You're going to know if your child is not making progress. And if he's not making progress, then you're going to be able to come up with the team whom your experts are still a part of. Well, what are we doing wrong, or what needs to be changed, or what isn't he responding to that's not allowing him to make progress towards these goals and objectives?
How am I going to get the teachers to see me every 2 weeks? What if they say, well, I'm too busy, or how do you
They don't have that option. You don't need to have a big 2-hour meeting. Make it so it's going to be simple for them. Say, look, I just want to get together for 20 minutes. It can be at your convenience. It's going to be a day when the experts are up, and don't say this now, because they don't know that the experts are going to be up all the time training them or giving them support anyway, at this point yet.